Thanks, Mate. Let's get that top story at 9. The highly anticipated Commission of Inquiry is expected to kick off this morning in Parktown, Johannesburg. The inquiry will bring various key witnesses, including former Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas, as well as former ANC Member of Parliament Vytjie Mentor. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo will head the inquiry, which is expected to run for 2 years. Now, presidential correspondent Mzwandile Mbeje is at the inquiry and brings us the latest. Mzwandile, a very good morning to you. Firstly, give us the mood since you've arrived. What have you observed?
Thank you very much, Blaine, and a very good morning. The state capture, as you have said, is set to begin in the next hour, as we have indicated. And it's an important event in the history of South Africa. This commission has been really awaited by the people of South Africa since that report was released by the then public protector, Mzwandile. And of course, it's still early in the morning here, Blaine. What is happening is that the process of registration is underway and some of the people are arriving, and of course we expect that at 10 then the chairperson, which is Justice Ray Zondo, will then head this commission and of course lay out what exactly is going to be happening. But we understand, Blaine, that the witnesses today will not necessarily be called to state their case. It will basically be an overview of what will happen from the chairperson himself, that is Judge Zondo, and those who are representing the legal fraternity, and the reports that will be presented. So at the moment is the process of registration. Everyone is looking forward to it. So we expect that 10 o'clock comes and this thing begins.
And Mzwandile, there's been some reporting with regards to possible delays regarding state clearance issues. What have you heard?
So far, we haven't had anything to that effect. Earlier, we were able to speak to the Secretary of the Commission, Dr. Khotso Devere, who basically said, as far as they are concerned, everything is in order. So we expect that when the chairperson opens that commission, he will then be able to indicate if indeed what they are saying is true. But as far as we know and are concerned, and based on what we got from the Secretary of the Commission, it looks like everything is set to go.
Mzwandile, it's likely to be a very complex commission, isn't it? A very significant one at that. Flesh out for us the backstory here.
Blaine, this is a very important story. Remember, this commission really centers around the person of the former president, Jacob Zuma, because he has been fingered in a number of allegations that have been presented by various parties. So it will then up to those who are presenting those allegations really to come out and prove, and various witnesses who should be able to really tell us what exactly is happening. Perhaps, Blaine, I can just sketch a bit of the background of when of how this thing came about. Remember, after persistent reports that some of the ministers were not really appointed by President Zuma, so some individuals then went to the public protector. It was pastor. It was pastor of the Anglican Church, rather of the Catholic priests. And then it was the leader of the DA, Mzwandile, and of course, and another unnamed individual. So these were the people who said there are these allegations that so the removal and the appointment of ministers is really done by the Gupta families, or the Gupta family has an influence in some of those appointments. So when those allegations then were put to the public protector, and then the public protector then looked at them, but perhaps what made it a point that these issues are investigated when the leader of the DA basically invoked the section where it was said the president really, if it's true, would have violated the ethics code. So then the public protector then was needed to then investigate those allegations. And from then on, there were other people like the former Deputy Minister of Finance, Mcebisi Jonas, who everyone knows said he was offered the job of Finance Minister by the Guptas. And of course, the issue of the former MP, Vytjie Mentor, saying she was called at the Gupta house, and then where they offered her the position of public enterprise in the event she would then help to cancel the SA route to India. And of course, all those allegations will be put to test because once the public protector looked at those events, she realized that they were so huge, so they needed a thorough platform where they could be properly ventilated. So that is why in her recommendation she said they needed to be a commission of inquiry. And the other issue, Blaine, remember the commission of inquiry is set up by the president. Yep. But given that the president in this issue was the one perhaps fingered, so part of her recommendation was that the Chief Justice had to select a judge and forward that name to the President so that the President could be able to then appoint a commission of inquiry. So we know in the process there were legal issues, whether the public protector was within her rights to do that, and we know the President went to court, the then President went to court trying to challenge all of these things. But at the beginning of this year, Blaine, so then he set up this commission now, which will really seek to put finality to these issues, because these issues are very wide-ranging. So they basically not only talk about the issue of the cabinet appointments, they also talk about the state-owned enterprises, Transnet, Eskom, the very SABC. So all these issues then needed a thorough and a proper platform where they'll be investigated. Hence today we have this commission that will sit at 10 o'clock. Perhaps before I conclude, I may just add that the remedial action of the public protector was 108 days, which is basically 6 months. But Judge Zondo, who is the chairperson of this commission, said given the enormity of the work he was to undertake, he went to court to seek an extension of 24 months. So we expect this commission then to take that much.
Mzwandile, one of the big questions is whether the former president, Jacob Zuma, will be invited to testify. I know there's been Sunday newspaper reports suggesting that he might, an invitation was extended to him, allegedly. What have you heard on the record, Mzwandile?
Indeed, Blaine, the former president will be expected to come here and give his evidence, given that he is the central figure in this whole inquiry. So earlier when we spoke to the secretary of the commission, Dr. Khotso de Vie, he did indeed confirm that they've written to the legal team of the president, informing him that he would need to come and present his side of the story. But what perhaps he said was that he was not in a position to tell us what the response from that side was. But as for the former president being called here to come and testify, indeed, it is a fact. We can confirm that.
Mzwandile Mbeje, thank you very much indeed for your time. Mzwandile Mbeje live for us in Johannesburg, covering the important story of the day, the state capture inquiry.